conflict in Ukraine flared up again this week, leaving dozens of civilians dead as cities are bombarded by heavy artillery fire. Greeks vote in a general election that could bring dramatic change not only to their country but the whole of Europe as well. A chronicle of pain and torture, the diary of a Guantanamo detainee puts on paper the fear and suffering endured inside the notorious American prison. You're watching RT International. We're live from Moscow. It's just gone past 5 p.m. here in the Russian capital. Thank you for tuning in. Right, we started in Ukraine, where 4 months of relative peace in the east of the country has ended, with violence and bloodshed returning with renewed force this week.
Сюда идите, бабушка, сюда, быстрее! Быстренько в подвалы домов!
Ноги парализованы, я никуда лучше так поставлю.
Тут ваша шугу.
In Donetsk, the death toll among civilians has been on the rise, with the city bombarded by artillery fire. That's as the humanitarian situation there is already critical. Now the infrastructure is crippled, while drinking water and electricity are scarce. RT's Roman Kosarev is in the city.
The shelling continues day and night here in Donetsk, with people being killed and maimed practically in every single district. But the worst tragedy actually happened on Thursday. It was morning rush hour, and a crowd of people were getting on a bus when a shell hit just meters away. 13 people died instantly, and many more were wounded. The explosion was so powerful that nearby buildings were damaged and cars were burned. Donetsk Republic Authority later claimed it was the doing of one of Kiev's covert groups that infiltrated the city, and Kiev called it nonsense.
Anti-government forces pushed the army back from Donetsk airport. That's been a focal point of the fighting. As you can see here, the airport is now completely in ruins. Both of its terminals are devastated, and debris covers the remains of destroyed military vehicles. In response to the loss, Kiev has started increasing its military presence in the area around the city as it vows to strike back. And as the fighting in eastern Ukraine resumed, the port city of Mariupol came under rocket fire on Saturday, leaving around 30 people dead and almost 100 injured. Roman Kosarev is back with more.
The port city of Mariupol was largely untouched previously, so it came kind of as a surprise when shells started falling in one of the suburbs of this city. OSCE monitoring mission said that multiple rocket launchers had been used from the northeast from positions reportedly controlled by anti-Kiev forces. Now, Donetsk Republic here said that it was Kiev's provocation because they simply don't have the technical capability to reach Mariupol. They are saying that the anti-government forces will strictly target Ukrainian military positions and never the city itself.
Meanwhile, Kiev has launched a new military draft in an effort to reinforce the army. It seems to be the largest so far, with plans to recruit 100,000 conscripts. Now, both men and women are up to 60 years old are to be mobilized, and those who refuse could face up to 5 years in prison. Official figures say over 1,000 soldiers have been killed in the conflict so far. Now, the military build-up came at the same time as top diplomats from Ukraine, Russia, Germany and France agreed that both sides had to pull heavy weaponry back from the conflict zone. But political analyst Marcus Papadopoulos believes peace is not something Kiev really wants.
Well, a lot of ordinary people in the world view politics as a dirty business, and the behaviour of the Ukrainian government is an excellent example as to why people think along those lines, because the Ukrainian government has been playing a duplicitous role in regard to the situation in Ukraine. On the one hand, Kiev is talking about peace, is talking about the Minsk agreement, is talking about, let's say, peace in general, but on the other hand, it has launched a brutal, large offensive against the Donbass, against the people of Donetsk and against Lugansk. So it really is a disgusting form of behaviour from the Ukrainian government. So when we see Petro Poroshenko talking about peace, what we have to remember is that on the one hand, he has an olive branch, but on the other hand, he has a gun.
Coming up later this hour, news is not terror. America's new state media chief faces ridicule after mentioning RT in the same breath as threats posed by terror groups Islamic State and Boko Haram. Also ahead, Human Rights Watch criticizes French police in the port city of Calais, accusing them of using excessive force against migrants and asylum seekers. Coming up, we take a look at the alleged abuses. Polling stations are open across Greece for a general election that has the whole of Europe looking on. Now, the vote has taken on almost historical importance for people who have suffered years of austerity and want change. For millions of Greeks, the last 6 years have been grim. According to UNICEF, the number of children living in poverty has almost doubled since 2008. Suicides have soared by 45% and drug use has also dramatically increased. Worst hit is the younger population. Almost half of Greek 20-somethings are jobless. Maria Finoshna reports from Athens.
And it has been a very busy day, but also an uneasy day. The decision is very important, and people we have been able to talk to here in Athens told us they feel responsibility that from their decision, the future of their country will be dependent. And some decided not to come to polling stations because they told us they do not believe any of 21 parties in the list. Those who came to vote, and as you can see, people are coming even now to this polling station behind me, told us that they don't believe that anybody is actually able to bring any relief anytime soon, because the country has been in crisis for nearly 5 years already. And there is another part of the population that hasn't decided yet at all whether they are going to vote, and if yes, who they are going to cast their ballot for.
As long as we have a new government tomorrow, of course we will see change. That's if they fulfill their promises and are allowed to fulfill their promises.
I believe that the previous government was really good. It did really well with the other countries. Now we have to wait, and I'm really afraid.
We have to choose between left and right. That's why these elections are serious and tough.
But what is certain, and we can say for sure, that people are tired and people want change.